Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our 2024 season predictions. It's a very serious predictions video, which is why I'm wearing my most serious shirt. But there's a lot to get into here. What we're going to do, I'm going to run down from 20th to 1st, the order I think each driver will finish in the F1 Championship this year, but also we'll be taking a look at F1 Academy, Formula 3 and Formula 2 very briefly. So let's get right into it. So, F1 Academy. This is one I'm finding very difficult to predict, as I've never seen any of these women race before. So I'm really just going off who I think has the most experience and who can kind of bring that into F1 Academy this year and be on advantage from the start. And for that reason, I'm going for Dorian Pin. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing her name right at this point, but she's been with the Iron Dames for a while. She seems to be doing really well. I think she might be a step above everyone else in F1 Academy, and for that reason, I'm picking her for the win. F3 now, and this one I know a little bit better because I've seen some of these people race before, including the person I'm picking to become F3 champion, Gabriele Mini. Ultimately, he did miss out on the championship last year and has another year in F3, but he's incredibly impressive as a driver. He's fantastic to watch. Unfortunately, he's part of the Alpine Academy, but we won't hold that against him, and I think this year is his year to become F3 champion. F2 now, and F2 is extremely exciting this year. It's probably the most stacked the grid has been since like 2018. There is some fantastic drivers on F2 this year, including the likes of Victor Martins, Zach O'Sullivan, Kimi Antonelli, Zane Maloney, Ritomo Miata, Gabriele Bortoletto, and Pepe Marti, as well as many others. But the one I'm going for to win the F2 Championship is one I haven't mentioned yet, and if you've watched any of my other videos, it'll probably come as no shock to you that this year I am backing Ollie Bearman to become F2 Champion. So there you go, that's F1 Academy, F3 and F2 all done, and also throughout the season we'll be covering all of those series, so if you're interested we'll be having reviews and recaps on that all the way through the year, so make sure you subscribe for that. But now it's time to get into F1, starting with P20, and I'm going to go for Kevin Magnussen to finish in 20th this year. Now, the Haas at the minute is in a really bad spot, and unlike most years with Haas, where they start really well, then just go downhill, they're aiming this year to start really badly and then go uphill. But I can't think of a single time in the history of Haas where they brought an upgrade and it's worked. So despite them having a new team principal, I don't really see that changing, and my expectations for Haas are at an all-time low. So for me, Magnussen finishes last. But in P19, I haven't got his teammate. I've got Logan Sargent. Now, the Williams for me at the minute looks like quite a handful of a car, but I think once they get on top of it, it will be quite quick. But I still don't have that much faith in Logan as a driver. I mean, I know it's his second year and he probably will improve, but I have never really seen anything from him that tells me that he's going to be that great. So for me, I don't see him making that much of an improvement, which is why I put him in 19th. In 18th, though, it's back to Haas with Nico Hülkenberg. Once again, not high expectations for the Haas, but the reason I put him higher than Magnussen is just his qualifying performances are always fantastic, and maybe in a race where things are going wrong for guys in faster cars, maybe he can kind of capitalise on that, maybe get a couple points here and there, and get the mass majority of the points for the Haas team if they score any points at all this year. 17th, Zhou Guanyu in the Stake F1 team Kick Sauber, and I might as well just go straight to 16th because that's where I've got Valtteri Bottas as well. Both drivers for Stake F1 team Kick Sauber. I do think the car itself is better this year than it was last year with Alfa Romeo, but I don't see them making that massive leap up the grid in any way. I think for the start of the year they will be better than Williams, but I do think Williams will have a better and more aggressive upgrade route, so towards the end of the year I think the Williams, especially in the hands of Alex Albon, will be doing especially better and will get past that Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber car. And speaking of Alexander Albon, I've got him in 15th. He's a fantastic driver. I think he was in my top 5 drivers of the year last year. I don't think that's going to change in any way. He still is a fantastic driver. As I said, I think the Williams will get better and better as the season goes on, but I do think there's still quite a big gap between the likes of the Williams and the rest of the grid. So I think he'll still be struggling for points, but hopefully we'll have a better year this year than he did last year, where the car wasn't as good. Let's do 14th and 13th together now, because in 14th I have Esteban Ocon, in 13th I have Pierre Gasly. Looking at the Alpine, it seems to be kind of in a league of its own, which we'll now call the midfield. There seems to be the backmarkers, your likes of your Haas, your Williams, your Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber, and then you have the frontrunners, your Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston, that kind of group there, maybe with Racing Bills finding their way in there as well. But Alpine just seem to be by themselves in the middle, not really challenging anyone, which makes me think that it's going to really be a battle between Ocon and Gasly for a lot of this year. And I think Gasly is a far better driver than Esteban Ocon, so that's why I have put Gasly ahead of Ocon here. Into 12th now, and it's Yuki Tsunoda in the Racing Bill. I think that this car is going to be a good one, and I think it will be regularly challenging for points. If everything goes wrong for guys up ahead, I don't see why they can't get podiums this year. I think it's going to be a quick car that will get quicker as we go through the year. Yuki Tsunoda has slowly proved that he deserves to be on the grid. I think towards the end of last year he was especially good. I'm hoping to see that come out the gates from him straight away and have some good results for him. And overall I put him 12th. 11th now, and it's Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. The thing is with the Aston, I think it's a very good car. I think it's a better car this year overall than it was last year. I don't think, you had Aston second best in Bahrain last year. I don't expect them to be second best this year, but I think overall as a year we probably won't see that dip off that we saw last year. But also I think Aston is based around Fernando now. This is a car for Fernando Alonso. It's not necessarily a car for Lance, and I think he might struggle with that, but hopefully we'll get some good results, and who knows if he'll keep his seat or not. That's the big question for me around Lance this year, but I'm hoping he can get some good results because he seems to be in a much more positive place now than he was last year. So hopefully some good stuff for Lance, but I'm thinking 11th overall. Into the top 10 now with Daniel Ricciardo, and I am hoping that this year is the year of Daniel Ricciardo. I kind of need it for him. I've watched a bit of Drive to Survive as I'm recording this, and it's kind of seeing him how down he was after the McLaren run. Then as the third driver for Red Bull, it really didn't fit. He's got a real good opportunity here to have a great year, then take that Red Bull seat for next year, and I don't see why he can't do it. As I said, I think the Racing Bills car is going to be very good, and I think Daniel Ricciardo is the man to take them potentially to those podium positions, which will be absolutely fantastic. So 10th place for Daniel Ricciardo. We may as well do 8th and 9th together now, because in 9th I've got George Russell, and in 8th I've got Lewis Hamilton, which is very low, and I feel I maybe have put them too low here. But just looking at the Mercedes, as it is right now, I don't think it's as good as the Aston. And, they could definitely improve throughout the year, and there probably will be a time where they're like the second or third best car. But I just think the entire atmosphere around Mercedes at the minute is quite bad, and I don't really see it improving. And I think that kind of negative input will go into their results, whereas the likes of your Ferrari, McLaren, Aston seem to be in a much better place. And I think there's definitely going to be drama between Lewis and George this year, especially towards the end of the year. So I just see that Mercedes are going to be this team all year. We're looking at them and going, God, this story has happened again, or something bad has happened again, leading up until Lewis leaving. So 9th for George, 8th for Lewis. 7th is Fernando Alonso. As I said, I think that Aston is built entirely around him. Hopefully they won't have that huge drop-off that they had last year, and they'll be able to stay consistent, get some good results, and we'll see that fun, happy, lively young buck Fernando Alonso get some good results for the year and end up 7th in the championship. 6th is Oscar Piastri. McLaren have turned that car around. This time last year, they were probably the worst car on the grid. Now I think they're probably about the 3rd best. Oscar Piastri was incredibly impressive in his rookie year, and I expect him to get a hell of a lot better as well through this year. But I still don't think he will be on the level of Lando, and I don't think he'll be on the level of those upper echelon guys, but I think he'll get closer and closer. So I put him in 6th at the moment. 5th is Sergio Perez, and as much as I think the Red Bull is very good, I think it's even better in the hands of Max than it is in Sergio, as it always is. But also, much like Mercedes, and I'm talking about that negative type of mood around the team, I think Sergio will have that as well, because I do think this is his last year in the Red Bull. I don't see him being dropped half of the year. I think they will let that contract play out, because I don't see them being challenged in any way. But for Sergio, I don't think he'll be in the right mindset to be delivering good results. We always see this thing with Sergio where he starts well and he ends well, but the middle of the season always kind of goes awry for him. And I think this year more than ever, when the results aren't there, he won't have that kind of thing to fall upon of, oh, I've got a seat for next year. Hopefully he will have a seat for next year, because I think he deserves one, but I don't think it will be in a Red Bull. I think that will kind of affect him mentally, and then the results kind of won't come from there. So 5th overall for Sergio, just because that car is still pretty decent underneath him, but I think it might be a difficult year for Perez, which is a shame, because I really like him. I think he's fantastic. 4th is Carlos Sainz, and as much as I think the Ferrari is probably the 2nd best car on the grid as we sit here right now, Ferrari have to now pick Leclerc over Sainz. For the last few years, Ferrari's had this whole we have no number one driver thing, which I think has always been a little bit of rubbish, to be honest with you. But now, more than ever, you've already dropped Sainz for next year. You have to back Leclerc at this point. He is your number one driver. So I think Leclerc will get priorities in all ways, which is the right thing to do, and Sainz will have to kind of play 2nd best, but still get some very good results in what I think is a very good car. Top 3 now, and 3rd, I have Lando Norris, which is a lot better than I think I put him like 15th or something last year, which went very wrong. But 3rd for Lando, just because I think the McLaren is quite good. Lando is at a place in his career now where he can be very confident in his own abilities, hopefully get some good results. Who knows if he's going to get that first win or not. I wish that wasn't a bigger story as it is, because I mean, he's never really had a car which is out and out good enough to have that win, to be honest with you. So the only thing I think that will hold Lando back is himself. When he has those bad results, those negative outcomes, he does seem to beat himself up about it a lot, and does it publicly, which I don't think is necessarily the right thing to do, because when you say something in sports publicly, it just comes back to you over and over and over again. Like if he says something negative about himself, for the next month it'll be journalists asking him to explain it over and over, so you never really escape that cycle. So that's kind of his biggest downfall in terms of it is himself. So hopefully he can avoid that, get some good results, finish 3rd in the championship. In 2nd place... No, it's Charles Leclerc. Of course it is. Once again, the Ferrari's really good. I think Charles really good. At the end of last year, what we saw from him there, I thought was incredible. I think he was on the last 5 front rows in a row. He's buffed out those mistakes he had in the 2022 season and the start of 23 to make himself a better all-around driver. Also in the back of his head all the time he's going to have Lewis is coming to the team next year. I've got to prove myself here. And I think he will, because he is fantastic, and I'm going to put him in 2nd place. And finally, who's going to be world champion? Who else is it going to be but Max Verstappen? 4-time champion of the world this year. The Red Bull this year has gone in a drastically different route, and it looks incredible, especially in the hands of him, because he is incredible. I mean, last year, all the records he broke, I mean, if he could break those again this year, that would be unbelievable. I don't see him breaking those records in terms of wins, points, podiums. I don't see him doing that again, but I still think he's going to have a pretty dominant season, because in all honesty, this might be the greatest ever combination of driver and car. And I don't just say that just to say it. I think it might actually be true. Adrian Newey has built a car which is perfect for Max Verstappen, who might be the most perfect driver we've ever seen. It's an incredible time to be watching. I know a lot of people go, oh, it's boring, he wins all the time, and I can see that point of view, but also at the exact same time, we are seeing greatness in front of us right now, and I think that's what we're going to see throughout this year, and I very much look forward to it. So there you go, there's my predictions for the 2024 season. Throughout all the year, you can cover everything here on Stop and Go F1. I'm sure we'll have loads of fun. Until next time though, have a good one. I'll see you later. Goodbye.